I'll keep it an entire buck. I'm terrible when it comes to watching shows. I'm not really sure why, but I'm never in the mood to digest something like a Netflix or an Amazon series, and lately, even anime's been a pretty big problem for me. I always feel like I could be using my time better than sitting down and watching a show. And let me just say, man, there's a couple things on my plate to watch. Things like JoJo's, Dragon Ball Daima, and Twisted Metal are all on my plate. So doing content like this is my attempts to maybe do a little bit better about getting some of these things off my list. For today's video, we're going to be tackling the first episode of Fallout. Now, disclaimer, I've already watched the first 2 episodes, but everything after that is going to be new territory for me. A little background, while I'm moderately familiar with these games, I mean they've always been in proximity of myself, I've never actually sat down and finished one of the games before. I want to say I've spent about 20 or so hours in Fallout 4, but the game fell victim to me setting it down for something else and just never getting back to it. How this all came to be, this video in itself, was myself and my roommate made a deal that if he'd be down to watch Justice League the animated series, I'd be down to watch Fallout. And well, we've watched the first 2 seasons of Justice League, and not much Fallout from me. So let's make good on my end, diving into episode 1 of Fallout. Hadouken! For those of you that don't know, and I hope I'm not butchering this, you can think about Fallout as a parallel timeline to ours, where instead of focusing on technology as we come to know it, we as a civilization end up putting our efforts in nuclear power. But that's only as far as I know. We start things off pretty light with a small child's birthday, having a good time with some underlying hostility going on towards our leading cowboy, who's a former Marine. Our cowboy in question is rather sensitive at the husband of the house mildly prodding at him to do a thumbs up for the photos he's taking, and he goes on to explain to his daughter that sticking your thumb up against a mushroom cloud was to determine pretty much if you're cooked or not. If the cloud was smaller than your thumb, you might still have a chance, but you'd have to book it. But if the cloud was larger than your thumb, there isn't even really that much of a point. While at first glance this scene feels relatively innocuous, it does a decent job of setting up the landscape that with these advancements in nuclear power comes just as large a nuclear threat. Needless to say, it's more than just a threat, because the bombs start to fall, and it's in moments like these that are the most interesting. Someone you were just chopping it up with moments ago is now your enemy if they are potentially infringing upon your family's safety. A small little snippet I feel like I remember from Fallout 4 was setting up people installing these nuclear bunkers in their homes, and the lengths people would go through to feel some kind of safety in times like these. Going as far as potentially being strong-armed into hemorrhaging their way of life just so they could feel some crumb of comfort in these trying times. We get a wide shot of the father and daughter cowpokes headed out for the metaphorical hills, and with each inch they take, more bombs drop, kicking off Fallout. We make a jump to 219 years in the future, and the shift of the way of living has drastically been flipped on its head. We're introduced to one of our leading characters, Lucy. We find Lucy dropping a resume as to why she would be a good candidate for the trade with the neighboring vaults, specifically Vault 32. It's interesting to see how things have changed, and even as far as to having to appeal to essentially judges to see if you can go and get married. In the midst of pitching herself as a good candidate, we did get to see some of her skills, and the old girl Lucy is quite capable. With that though, she does get the green light, and we move on forward to her wedding day, which might very well be the same day. I won't lie, I did initially get mixed at first on if we were actually living outside the vaults or not. I mean, it is 219 years in the future. Maybe the Fallout zone itself has calmed down and it's now livable. As Lucy is prepping for the big day, she's getting some mild words of encouragement alongside what seems like her own excitement. But hold on, what do you mean by cousin stuff?
I have been unable to find a suitable marriage partner. At least one I'm not related to.
Let's brush past that, please. Something I wanted to point out is what almost seems to be like a crack in her otherwise eager expression. Maybe there's some level of nervousness or apprehension to become a wife and uproot the life she knows now. I mean, plenty of people are scared to make big choices like these, and she's spent quite literally her whole life being sheltered. Yeah, no, the background looks great here, but it's actually just a type of projection of the outside world showing off the lengths humans would go through to emulate the outside world as we knew it. Inching another step forward, this moment between her and her dad are beyond sweet in a moment of excellent acting. We get to talk through her nerves a little bit with her dad and find out that she had lost her mother. But like an eager Yu-Gi-Oh fan, it's time for trading. The bridgeway between vaults has been connected. It's so interesting on the other side, you have no idea who your husband or wife is going to potentially be. We do get a little funny moment with Lucy going more into the cousin stuff we unfortunately heard about. And just like that, the marriage is underway and seemingly goes off without a hitch. In general, I'd say this is a relatively nice and heartwarming scene, especially with the speech and the dance with her father. But in all of this, there are some seeds planted of some unsettling undertones, let's say. And just after this, the newlyweds get up to newlywed things. I can't lie, I'm a little jealous. Ella Purnell is quite attractive. Let's let the two of them have their fun and be right back. We do get a little POV switch of Lucy's brother Norm as he's checking out the sister vault, and the state of it may even be a little bit rougher than we expected. These moments of unsettling nature are shining through in full force here. This place is a ghost town minus one body that Norm finds. And reasonably so, Norm runs the fuck out of there. Doubling back to Lucy's POV, Monty starts acting stranger and stranger. Like, bro, I don't care who you are, but who the fuck wipes their dick on the curtains? That's crazy work. But that sex might not have been good enough for Lucy to ignore the shots being fired, and she knows something's up. She throws on the old Pip-Boy and finds out Monty's radioactive. A fight scene that I was not expecting breaks out as she becomes more and more aware that Monty is a raider. The extent of what that means, I don't know right now. I'm sure we can infer what raiders do. But as we saw earlier, old girl Lucy is extremely capable and takes Monty out of commission. But you know what's metal? Taking a goddamn knife out of the old tum-tum and getting right back into action. Trekking along, things are looking a little concerning. The vault she has called home is turning into a goddamn war zone, and naturally, as most of us would, she's looking to equip herself for the battlefield, finding the armory relatively picked over. Even though this is some extreme shit happening, the battlefield is somewhat contradicting itself in a rather fun way, with the backing track being Some Enchanted Evening by the Castells? I think that's how you say that. It's definitely not Castles. I do really love the background film being burned up, making it look like the nukes are going off, mirroring what brought these people to where they find themselves today. Plus, this chick takes a goddamn fork in the eye. That's fucking metal. I really wasn't expecting this much action off rip in the first episode, but I'm down. Lucy ends up holding it down for her brother, and guess what? Hubby's back, and he might be looking for a divorce. But I don't think Pops approves anymore, finishing the job. This must be that dad's strength I hear so much about. We do get some news that the vault door has been breached, and father and daughter are on their way to check it out. Unfortunately, the dynamic duo found themselves running into a trap, and we get a hint that this lady in particular is a bigger component than we currently have the information to understand. And Lucy's father gets left with a choice between his people and his daughter. Obviously, the dad is going to choose his daughter 100 times out of 100, but we get left with another crumb by, I guess his character's name is Lee. Lee's familiar with Lucy's mom, so we're going to have to keep that payoff on the back of our minds for now. But Lee and her crew end up sedating and taking Lucy's dad. I have no idea why. Fallout Episode 1, you had my attention, and now you have my interest. The Raiders arm their charges and make their exit. Alright, it's time for another bigger POV shift. We're getting a major beatdown on a secondary protagonist, Maximus. At least, it looks like the old boy Max has at least one friend. The important thing is that we went from down below in the vaults to up above, in what looks like a type of military school that looks more than a little brutal with the Brotherhood of Steel. I'm mildly familiar with the Brotherhood. Hearing about it in passing while in the middle of class, a helicarrier of sorts cuts class short. And we get to see, of course, the iconic power armor we're all so familiar with. This perspective really reflects the old mentality of how people would feel about serving for their country. And it's possible these cadets or students, or whatever, were groomed to think this way. Just a little note, we do get a look over the communication waves that the people of the Brotherhood are looking for someone. Just a little aside, like my own personal aside, I think this is a pretty cool method of getting a sketch for someone's identity. Anyways, Max and his friend are, let's say, shooting the shit when they get a chance to look at the fabled power armor in question. And we get a brief little vision that this chance means more to Max than just something casual. He's looked up to the people of the Brotherhood since he was a kid. Here's where we actually start to get some insight into Max. With the promotion of his friend, Max starts to become a bit unhinged. I can definitely sympathize here, feeling as if everything you've worked for has passed you by, especially when looking around at your immediate surroundings is a little bit less than ideal. And this could potentially lead us down a path of extreme reactions. We do make a cut to the next reaction being Max's friends screaming in pain because they've more or less been sabotaged with razor blades in their boots. And next thing we know after that is Max is being taken away. And it seems as if the cuts are getting more and more frequent because we get another perspective cut, obviously enough going back to the old girl Lucy, dealing with the fallout, see what I did there, of the events that happened what may only be moments ago. Once again, Lucy is fucking hardcore stapling her fresh wound. I've had staples before, but I think I was unconscious when I got them. Anyways, it's business time now. While Lucy's looking to send out a search party for her pops, everyone else is looking to supersede her decision to do so to recoup. Which, while I can understand where Lucy's coming from, the focus on security, especially right after what happened, makes sense. Lucy's brother does kind of turn things around, pitching that if their dad comes back, the board loses their chance to take any kind of control. But just because the board doesn't want to send out a search party doesn't mean Lucy's going to let that stop her. And because of this, we do get a nice little brother-sister moment before she dips to the outside world and all that. It's time to make this sheltered lamb take their first steps past the fence. I gotta imagine the first look at like actual light, actual sunlight has to be crazy. It's gotta be like that line from The Dark Knight Rises.
I didn't see the light until I was already a man. By then it was nothing to me but blinding.
Immediately with her first steps outside the vault, she's surrounded by the bodies of people who fell from who knows how long ago. You want to talk about a wasteland, but there is crumbs of the civilization that came before. Like, how is most of that Ferris wheel still up? That's some impressive construction. Like I said, these transitions are getting faster. Just like that, we're back with Max, who is being grilled. He's being probed on things like why he joined the Brotherhood and who might have injured his friend and how the fingers are pointed at him, pointing out things like his potential jealousy of his friend being promoted while he's being left behind. I think this might be the most interesting question and answer with something so simple.
How are you? Weak?
I don't want to be.
When the interrogator in question asks if there's anything else, all Max leaves with is a little glazing, with his thanks for an offering of his future services. But it feels like in this moment, something is breaking within Max. And on the back of that, he's now given the promotion to Squire, and we get shown this sort of morbid happiness, or at least that's how I'm reading it. Following this up, we get a little touch and go moment with our boy Max, and Amazon is telling me this character's name is Dane? Immediately following this moment up with his promotion, and immediately right after that to his deployment. We are speeding things along so much faster than the front half of this episode, but it doesn't feel poorly paced. In the process of Max being deployed, we do get to hear about our target. Essentially, the target is going to be a man and a dog. This man is an escapee with a powerful object of some type that potentially threatens what would be their general security, but equal and opposite has the power for them to prosper as well. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, it's go time. Speaking of go time, it's time for another POV change. We have what seems to be some bandits of type who are looking to do a little grave digging for a little hired help. It is cool to see like a little IV dripping down into a grave. Like, that's cool. I don't know what that material actually is, but the job is done. The coffin is now topside and is open to a sort of chill in the air. Our cowboy in question stumbles on out, and I can't lie, I could cut the tension here with a knife. Our now topside friend is offered the proposition of a potential bounty to set themselves up for life. The bounty in question is the very same target the Brotherhood of Steel are after. I mean, once again, I'm curious, what is the goddamn importance of this dude? This dude and dog have to be pretty goddamn important. With all this, our little cowboy friend has had his interest piqued, particularly at the destination being California, which is allegedly where our new friend the Ghoul is from. I gotta say, I think I'm into the Old West aesthetic of things quite a bit, from the attire to the weaponry, and we find out that the Ghoul is a bona fide badass. just absolutely effortlessly taking these guys out. Let me get more Old West shootouts like this, man. Oh, I'm so down. And with the final line from the ghoul, we get revealed that he was the father from the very beginning of the episode, thus ending episode 1 of Fallout. Even though I knew exactly what I was going to be walking into with this episode, I can't stress enough how immediately engaging the show is, between the introductory scene paired with the back and forth flipping of perspectives as the show goes on. I really like the little subtle hints of tension that are laid out throughout the show, and the payoff from those breadcrumbs being left behind, leading us to when shit actually hits the fan. That way, these moments of action feel like satisfying, they feel earned. I do feel like we have a good inkling into who Lucy is right now, but I know the interesting thing is going to be seeing what her character evolves into, and with Max learning more about him, and we kind of have the idea that this dude is somewhat unstable, but to what ends, I'm looking forward to finding out. Of course, the ghoul is sick as shit, and the mystery of him is equally fascinating, and then finally the Brotherhood and the ghoul having the very same target, that's also cool. I do know we happen to get a little look at our target in question real soon, i.e. the next episode, but I'll be honest, I don't remember it all that well. So I'll look forward to running through it with you guys. I do hope you guys like this video. It is still pretty fun for me to make as well, even though it's a little bit more time consuming than just watching an episode. Remember to do all that YouTube stuff, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.